Hello everyone, welcome to Video Editing for Mere Mortals. My name is Ed and I'll be your instructor for this course. In this course we're going to be using a program called VSDC Video Editor. I'll include a link to that and explain how to install it later in this video. Now I know you're asking yourself, what makes my videos different from other people's videos that are already out there on VSDC? The answer to that is I am planning on working from a beginner's perspective, taking the viewpoint that you know nothing from video editing at all, and then applying that to VSDC so that you can learn how to do video editing. I am not going to be just showing you how to do special effects or use the program. I am going to be teaching you to use the program. So my goal is to give you the knowledge that you can use the program to, in the future, do everything you want to without having to continually go and look up how to do it. A lot of the videos out there do not explain what the various settings are. They just say, to do this effect, set this to 4, set this to 3, and you're done. My goal is to actually explain what each of those settings are, what they do, how they affect it, so that way you can apply that knowledge down the road. All of my videos are going to have in the description a link to my Discord server where you can log on and provide suggestions, ask questions, provide recommendations, or anything you wish regarding VSDC. And it will also contain a link to a share drive that will have all of the files used in my video examples. So if you wish, you can go in, download the files, and do the exact same thing that I'm doing in the video to help you learn. As always, please click like, subscribe, and share to anyone who you think will benefit from learning how to do video editing. Now let's get to it. Okay, now we're ready to install the software onto our device. So let's go out. We're going to go ahead and open up Chrome. I'm going to go full screen here, and we're going to go out to www.videosoftdev.com. Again, the link will be in the description of the video below. So let's go to their website, and here's the VSDC website. They have several different tools you can go through and get. We're going to go to downloads, and we're going to go ahead and grab the video editor. So on the video editor, you can see there's a download button for 64-bit versions and 32-bit versions. If you're running Mac OS, sorry, they do not support Mac at this time. I'm going to run the 64-bit version, so I'm going to go ahead and download the 64-bit version. Again, you can see it is free. The option to purchase the product is available. I highly recommend it after you go through some videos, and if you're enjoying the program, it's only $20 a year, and you get a lot more functionality with it. So definitely look into it. You can get to that from their homepage as well. So the download is just about finished. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the file to run it, and I'm going to minimize my Chrome window so that's not in the way. So now we're just going to go through the setup program. So we're going to select English. Now this first prompt is if you already have the editor installed on your system. It recommends to uninstall the previous versions before you install the new one. I am running the current version, so I am going to go ahead and say no to uninstall, because at the very end of the process, I am not going to actually install the program since I already have it, but I am wanting to walk you through the steps, so I'm going to say no here. Again, if you have it already installed, go ahead and hit yes. Now we're going to go through the setup wizard. Intro screen, you hit next. License agreement, you hit next. Same thing for this next screen, talking about permissions. Now here you can have the program create the desktop icon for the video editor, video capture, and screen recorder, all which comes with the video editor download. So I don't run these off of desktop icons. I run them out of my start menu. So I leave these all unchecked. I do recommend leaving the other tasks checked to associate project file types with the VSDC free video editor. This allows you to just simply double click a video project file and it will automatically open it in VSDC. So once you made your choices there, hit next. Gives you a summary of all the options that you've made, and go ahead and click the install button. Now, as I said, I'm not going to be hitting install since I already have it up and running, but when you do hit install, it will go ahead and run through the process. You'll see all the files getting installed, the progress bar, etc. So once the program is installed, go ahead and fire the program up, and the next section will show you an overview on how the opening screens work and getting it ready for the first project, and giving an explanation of the various parts of the editor screen. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back. We are ready to give you an overview of the editor screen. So if you've already installed it, you can run the program along with me, or you can just watch and catch up at your leisure. The first thing I want to notice is on the right-hand screen over here is the recent file list. This is blacked out on my screen so that you're not able to see who the product is licensed to, as well as all of the previous projects that I've been working on. Next is the menu bar up here where you can go through and select projects to open, various choices throughout the program. Right now, obviously, the only one you can access is projects. If you did purchase the software, you can go over to the activation menu item and enter the code in there to upload or to activate the Pro Edition like I have. Here you have your menu ribbon bar. These correspond to which menu items you are selecting. So since we have the projects, we're able to create a new project, open a project, templates, etc. These values are also available to start projects of various types here, including a blank project, is which we'll be using, create slideshow. You can import content, do video capture, which is what I'm doing right now, and screen capture, which is also what I'm doing now. Video capture they usually refer to for like video games, whereas this is just screen capture. But if you can think about it, if you're capturing a video game, you're really doing a screen capture, but the video capture is optimized more for a high graphic streaming. Now at the bottom down here, these look like action buttons, but these are actual tutorials from the VSDC company, where it teaches you how to go through and work the 3D editor, motion tracking, etc. So these are really good examples and reads to further the education on how the program works and how to use it outside of my course. So the first thing now we're going to do is go ahead and click a blank project. Now, there we go. This screen pops up. We are now going to give our project a name. We'll just say first project. We're not going to really keep it. This is just to give you an overview of the interface that is used for editing. But when you create any new project, this screen will pop up. In general, the settings will be defaulted probably close to what I have here, and you can change them if you like, but these are very good default settings. You can put your name in as the author. If you want to give the project additional metadata, you can give it up here. For configuring it, you can select whether you want the project to be outputted to a specific device. I go ahead and do free configuration because when you go to actually export your project, you're prompted on this as well. So just leave it at free configuration. Your resolution, mine's the maximum that my laptop can handle, which is the 1920 by 1080, which is 16.9 ratio. That's pretty standard. And the frame rate is 30 frames per second. A lot of places can now do easily 60 frames per second. The issue comes down to how powerful of a system you are running. If you have a really powerful system that can process 60 frames per second, please feel free to go ahead and change it. It will make your images look clearer, your movements smoother, etc. I'm going to leave it at 30 frames per second just so that processing isn't slowed down during my videos. Over here for the width and the height, this is for defining your display that you'll be working in, your scene area. So you're going to be saying that your width and height are 1920 by 1080. These are similar to the resolution, but they don't have to be. As you can tell, you can change your various resolutions. If you're running a really powerful system, you can run it as Ultra HD with a very high set of pixels, but you can still limit your scene area down to a height and width that you're comfortable with. The frequency, these are for setting the audio quality output. For me right now, and for you guys, the default of stereo and the 44,100 hertz is completely acceptable. You're not going to see much difference, especially when running through these tutorials. But if you're creating projects that have higher audio content, then you probably will want to adjust these. Again, all of these settings are changeable within the interface after the project is started. So if you make a mistake or want to change something, go ahead and leave it as it is. So we'll go ahead and say OK. The last option that was on the screen was default color for the background, and it was black, which is why you see my screen area here as being black. So we're going to go through the various areas of this program and explain what they are. Again, up here is your menu bar. It's the same menu bar that you saw earlier, but now you have more options that are available for you to select. As you, again, change which items you're on. Right now we're on editor. You can see that the ribbon bar will change functionalities. So now that we're on editor, you can see that we can run wizards, adds objects, and items like that. But if we go back to projects, you can see the bar changes based on the various items, various menu item you've selected. The next section that I'd like to cover is here. This is the Project Explorer tab. What this allows you to do is it has three tabs here. One, it lists the project. You can see we have our first project here, and we have defined a scene 0. What objects are in scene 0 would be listed by clicking the Objects Explorer. We have not added any objects, but as you do, this will expand into a large tree area, and you can select various items and see their properties. Templates list the variety of templates that are currently available on your edition of VSDC. So you can see for text effects, we have templates for doing recoloring, shifting, video effects, filters, transforming, and transparencies, and then of course we have all these different options below them. So there is a lot of power in this system. The next section is the scene area, and that is here. The scene area gives you the ability to see where you're actually developing your video. So as you are creating your video and editing it and putting various items together, you will see what you're working with up here in the screen. Think of this as your television window, and as you move through it, it will actively change as your timeline changes. It has quick tools over here where you can add text onto the image, draw squares, circles, subtitles. You can even add graphs. Up here are additional editing tools for, making like your text centered or justified. So any of these items can all be drag dropped onto the scene area and then edited to meet whatever needs you are, moved around, etc. Next is the bottom area down here. This is called the timeline. Now in the timeline, this VSDC is what they call a non-linear editor, which means that each of these lines you can place different effects, objects, and transitions without them all being in one gigantic line. So you can have, like a display text on the beginning and then have it cascade down to, part of a video. And then if you wanted to insert a text point in the middle of it, you can add it here on the third line. It basically means you can build all of your change edits in a non-linear fashion. You can just add different items where you want, when you want. To control this section, we have this bar up here at the top, which is your timeline control. And we'll go into this in more detail when we start working and learning how to work the timeline. But in general, this gives you the ability to zoom in and out of your timeline. As you can tell right now, it goes from 0 seconds up to 10.24 seconds. So if you're running in a very long, 10-minute video, you don't want to only show 10 seconds. You can zoom in and out so that it shows more or less on the timeline. These allow you to play what you have in your video. You can select how your work area is, if you want the entire timeline to be a work area or a subset. This controls how the time cursor moves within it, the timeline when you're hitting play. And again, these all work within your work area of the timeline. And we'll cover those more, as I said, when we start editing our videos. The final area over here on the right-hand side is the properties window, resources, and basic effects. Now this may look a little different on yours because I have already changed my settings so that it's not showing all of them side by side. I basically did the unpin on the default settings as they would collapse onto the side bar, and you can make them larger if you need to, or you can make them more narrow. So I'll go ahead and spread out the properties window, and you can see here are a lot of the properties from the initial setup screen. Here's all the metadata where you can configure it, frame rates, your background colors, as well as your audio settings. So if you messed anything up or wanted to change something down the road, say you want to change your frame rate to 60, you can go in here and choose 60 frames per second, and your project has just been altered. Now, what that warning message was is saying, if you had something set at 10 seconds in length, and you switch to from 30 frames per second to 60, you're basically doubling up everything. So you took your 10 seconds is now down to 5 seconds, and everything has been sped up. So I highly suggest, out of all of it, keeping your frame rate the same from your initial settings and not changing those would be the very, very good start to saving a lot of headaches. Resources windows will display any of the external items. So if you add your video that you're wanting to edit into the editor, it'll show up here as a resource. Any graphics and pictures that you want to use show up in this list. That way you don't have to constantly go out and find them. You can just add them in as a resource, and it maintains a link to where it is on your file system and allows you to access them without having to go out to File Explorer and find them. The other tab is your effects tabs. This will change based on what effect you're working with, and you can basically control a lot of how the effects are visually displayed on the screen by setting these various sliders. This is just the basic correction for color correcting. We'll cover that more when we get to a project that requires it. And the last thing I did want to say is on the property windows. This property window will change based on what object you're editing. So if you're editing a photograph, it'll give you options on how you can change your photographs. If you're on a video, it'll give you options on videos. If you're working on a transition, it gives you the ability to change your transition speeds and items around the various transitions. So that's basically the interface that we'll be working with, and the next project will include us taking a sample video and making some changes to it. So I hope you enjoy that, and I'll see you on the next lesson. Thank you.